Welcome back, everyone. We'll now start the plenary panel 4, which is on geospatial for location analytics and business intelligence. And for this session, we have moderator Dr. Sailesh Nayak, director from National Institute of Advanced Studies. And the panelists are Abhishek Chaudhary, Vice President, Corporate Affairs, HR and Company Secretary from National Industrial Corridor Development Corporation, Mr. Puneet Agarwal, Vice President, IoT, Smart Mobility, Reliance Jio Infocom, and Mr. Azad Mishra, Senior Vice President, Rural and Agribusiness Group, HDFC Ergo. May I invite the moderator and panelists on stage?
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm very happy to welcome you, all of you, to this plenary panel 4 on geospatial for location analytics and business intelligence. And I also welcome my fellow panelists, Mr. Abhishek Chaudhary, Puneet Agrawal, Azad Mishra, and Nilotpal Gupta. All of them are well-known professionals in their own field. And I think we have very important topics. Today, everything depends on the location. And not only the location, but how well you characterize your location and the knowledge which you gain about the location, how well you can use for the business. And we have a 4, so we have about 45 minutes. So I will request each of you to be around 7 to 10 minutes or so. And in the end, we can have one more round of any specific comments to make. With this, first I would invite Mr. Abhishek Chaudhary, Vice President, Corporate Affairs, HR and Company Secretary, National Industrial Corridor Development Corporation. Yeah.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, sir, and my fellow panelists for giving this opportunity to present what geospatial means for the planning of the industrial corridor projects and what the government of India is presently doing, utilizing the geospatial for the betterment of the planning activities. So my presentation is primarily divided into 3 major components, initially covering what we are doing as part of the government, as part of PM Gati Shakti program. Secondly, the tools which we have adopted for the purpose of planning in the National Industrial Corridor program. And lastly, about what we are doing in the logistics space for the purpose of bringing more and more digital transformation into the logistics sector. So with this, I'll just like to open up with India as an economic powerhouse. We are the largest, fastest growing G20 economy. We are the largest smartphone data consumers. We are the first in terms of global fintech adoption. We are the second largest in terms of global retail index. We are the second largest internet subscriber base. And we are the third largest startup ecosystem with more than 100 unicorns already in place. We are the third largest consumer market, and we have the third largest economy on the basis of the purchasing power parity. So here we stand. And moving forward, the aim of having a $5 trillion economy, definitely all these numbers are going to change. And as we move and as I speak, these numbers are continuously changing. So Honorable Prime Minister has launched PM Gati Shakti program on 13th October 2021, and my organization, I myself, was very much involved from day one of the conceptualization and the development of the PM Gati Shakti, which was finally launched by the Honorable Prime Minister on 13th October 2021. And there is a huge usage of geospatial, there is a huge usage of satellite imagery, there is a huge usage of technology when we talk about PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan. What we have done, because everybody understands that PM Gati Shakti is nothing but a series of layers of various central ministries or the state ministries and various infrastructure projects which has been mapped onto a GIS-based portal, and it is up to use. So I just wanted to clarify this, that PM Gati Shakti is not only about mapping of the physical infrastructure assets or the assets which are going to come up in the future and superimposing them with the economic zones which will be coming up in future or which are already in existence. But PM Gati Shakti also encompasses as a tool for the purpose of monitoring the performance of different ministries against which individual projects has been planned, mapped, and are being monitored using PM Gati Shakti as one of the major tools. So just to elaborate on this point, as a country, we were having around 92,000 kilometers of the road network in 2014-2015. We constructed close to 42,000 kilometers of the road network in 6 years by 2021. And the target is that we will be having 200,000 kilometers of the road network by 24-25, which means that since independence, roughly 70 odd years, whatever roads we have constructed, we will be doubling our national highway and the expressway capacities in this decade. So we all are fortunate to see this growth with which we are working. And these are not just the numbers or the targets which has been given by NHAI or which has been given by Ministry of Road Transport. These are the actual numbers backed by actual projects and actually backed by the status about the availability of land, availability of right-of-way, preparation of DPR, sanctioning of the funds, inclusion in the Bharatmala project, completion of the environment clearance, and what all. So the performance of the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways is now getting monitored using PM Gati Shakti as the base, which encompasses all the projects which will constitute additional 110,000 kilometers of the road network. Similarly, railways, we were having a cargo handling capacity of 1,000 metric ton, which rose to around 1,200 metric ton, and which will be 1.5x times jump by 24-25. We will reach 1,600 metric ton. In terms of power transmission network, we were running around 3 lakh circuit kilometers, which has risen to 4 lakh 25,000, and which will rise to 4 lakh 54,000 circuit kilometers by 24-25. Renewable energy, a phenomenal jump, I will say. 24-25, 35 gigawatt we were operating. Now we are having around 90 gigawatt, and the target is 225 gigawatt. So it will be a 7x jump in the renewable energy capacity of our country. Moving forward, civil aviation, we were having around 74 airports, heliports, water aerodromes put together. Now we are having around 127, and we will be reaching a target of 220 very soon. Petroleum and natural gas, around 15,000 kilometers of the natural gas pipeline, 17,500 we have attained, and around 34,500 kilometers the target which we will achieve by 24-25. Shipping, number of ports, we were operating at 65 major and minor ports, and which will rise to around 75. Waterways, we started with 1 and then rose to 3 in 24-25, and by 24-25 we will be using our inland waterways around 18 of them. Then telecommunication, number of gram panchayats which are connected to the optic fiber network, because all this geospatial depends upon high band connectivity. So 2015, we were having around 60 gram panchayats only connected to the optic fiber network. By 24-25, we will be having 250,000. And let me give you a very important fact. By December 2023, every single village of the country will have connection of optic fiber network, which means they will have an access to e-education, they will have an access to e-medicine, they will have an access to anything and everything which internet can do in our lives. Similarly, the length of the OFC network was around 11 lakh kilometers, rose to around 25 lakh kilometers in 2021, and the target is to achieve around 35 lakh kilometers. And this includes the network which is getting laid down to connect the islands of Andaman and Nicobar in the deep sea also. Now, within a very short span of time of 1 year since the launch on October 2021, 23 central ministry portals have already been developed. Every state in the country has come on board for the usage of PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan. Around 1,500 odd layers has been added. So this is a news, I think, to the ears of everyone sitting out here, that you can see the entire country's road network, rail network, ports, airports, gas pipelines, forest, digital mapping of the land records, everything is now available as part of the PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan. Around 98 projects has already been evaluated. So at the planning stage itself, all the concerned ministries are talking to each other. The road transport is talking to environment and forest that wherever there is any kind of a wildlife sanctuary or an eco-sensitive zone, they should not pass on the alignment from that area. Similarly, railway ministry is talking to the national highways that wherever there is a need for constructing a ROB or a IUB, that planning can be done from the initial stages. We, as a user ministry or as a economic zone development agency, are also talking to the road ministry and the rail ministry for providing the last mile connectivity. What change this PM Gati Shakti has brought in, I just wanted to highlight. Earlier, the approach as a country which we were adopting is more of reactive in nature. We used to react. We used to construct a special economic zone. We used to construct an industrial area. And after constructing that industrial area, after allotting the land, after factories are started, then we start approaching to the road ministry, we start approaching to the railway ministry for the last mile connectivity or for the spur line. So this reactive approach has now transformed into a proactive approach. So right now, we are not saying that you need to provide this connectivity for the last mile. We are saying we will plan the connectivity from day one, which I will highlight in the later part of my presentation. As the time you are planning an economic zone or industrial area or a new city, the connectivity to that city from rail, road, port, airport, gas, telecom, everything has to be planned right away. Similarly, there is a fast-paced implementation. All the interdepartmental issues of over 1,300 issues has already been resolved. And all the high-impact projects which requires immediate attention and which requires immediate implementation, that has been taken up on priority. Now coming to the Industrial Corridor program, we started with Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor, taking the Western Dedicated Freight Corridor as the basis. And with the success of the Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor, now the government has mandated us to work on 11 such industrial corridor projects, where either the railways or the existing national highway is basically the backbone. So presently we are working on 11 corridor projects. The mandate which has been given to my organization is to develop new industrial cities, completely greenfield in nature. We are not developing brownfield cities, which are completely smart from day one. All city utilities are smarter, ICT controlled. The city can be managed, operated, and controlled by sitting in one central command and control center. And these cities has been planned taking into a time horizon of next 40, 50 odd years. So all utilities are completely underground. One can go in a golf cart and do the operation and maintenance of it. So these are some of the salient features of the smart city, which is uniform in all the cities which we develop. So far, we have delivered 4 cities. I'll quickly run it through in the paucity of time. Dholera is
in a couple of minutes, can you wind it up?
Okay, sure. So Dholera, again, connectivity is a key. So we are connecting Dholera with a 6-lane dedicated expressway to Ahmedabad. We are building a new international airport closer to Dholera. And already 22.5 square kilometers of Dholera is already developed. This is how you can see Dholera looks like. This is a central command and control center onto your right. And from here, the entire city can be controlled and operated. We are also utilizing the wasteland by putting up a solar park out there. And the process of the land allotment has started to the industries. Second city which we have developed is in Aurangabad. Here also there is a huge emphasis on providing road, rail, port, airport connectivity. This is how the city looks like. Here also the process of land allotment started. Close to 180 plots has already been allotted. In Greater Noida, we are doing a smaller township, it's around 747 acres. Here also, the infrastructure is ready. The process of land allotment has started. Not only the land has been allotted, the factories have been constructed and the commercial production started. So this has happened only because the multimodal connectivity was provided to the industry from day one. 6 plots have been allotted out here. Then in the center of the country, Vikram Udyogpuri in the state of Madhya Pradesh. Here also the infrastructure is ready and around 23 plots have been allotted. This is a nutshell summary of the plot allotment which has taken so far. On the southern side, where we are standing out here, we are also working on Chennai-Bangalore Industrial Corridor. We are working on Hyderabad-Nagpur Industrial Corridor. And there are 2-3 more corridor projects which are working on in the southern part of the country, wherein the projects are at different stages of master planning. In the logistic space, we have developed a logistic data bank. I'll just quickly run it. In logistic data bank, we track the movement of EXIM containers from the point of origin. So at present, every single container in the country is being tracked by us. So since July 2016, when we started our operations, every single container is being tracked. And so far, we have tracked close to 52 million containers. Either it moves by road or it moves by rail. The RFID, it is a passive RFID tag which we attach to every EXIM container. And that is how it gets tracked, either in the export journey or in the import journey. We are present at 17 ports, 27 terminals, 60 plus toll plazas, 250 plus CFS and ICDs and MTRs, 9 special economic zones, 3 border integrated checkposts of Nepal and Bangladesh, and around 2,500 rail terminals. Our systems are already integrated with the terminal operating systems in the voice system. More than 1950 readers have been installed, and 52 million containers have been tracked. So it's 100% KPI, close to 30 lakh hits we receive every month onto our portal for the purpose of track and trace. The way you track your e-commerce parcel or you track your DHL courier, similarly you can track your EXIM container. And it's performance benchmarking. We name and shame the best and the worst performing ports, CFS, ICD, MTRs, and huge usage of this technology during the COVID period. In addition to that, now the government has mandated us to develop unified logistics interface platform whereby all the systems of different line ministries which are working in silos in the logistics space has already been integrated. And we have developed the governance layer and the integration layer. However, the presentation layer has been left for the development by the private sector. So these are the systems which are working, and the ones in the green has already been integrated as part of the ULIP. The ULIP system has been launched by the Honorable Prime Minister very recently. So this comprises of 32 systems by developing more than 100 APIs covering 1,600 fields. And the data governance is completely on a request-response-based system. We are not storing the information of any line ministry. And we are developing and promoting a lot of private sector players to come out with their respective use case. 13 companies have already signed with us. And this was launched by the Honorable PM on 17 September 2022 as part of the National Logistic Policy launch. And my urge to all of you sitting here is please go and register at goulip.in and see whatever use case you can develop. Thank you.
Thank you, Abhishek, for very well overview of the Gati Shakti, PM Gati Shakti plan. And very important thing is the anticipatory or a proactive management. I think this is a major change which has happened in this. May I now request Mr. Puneet Agarwal, Vice President IoT, Smart Mobility, Reliance Jio Infocom.
Hi everybody, thank you for being here. I do not have a presentation, but I'm from Geo. I hope many of you would have 1 or 2 connections from it. But I think that's not the topic. I would not take much time, but bringing the context back, and Abhishek presented really well. And he did touch base on one of the point, why technology, why connectivity is very important. So I would say as we are the enabler for some of these things, bringing the geospatial services as well as whatever the work which is happening across India in various segments and sectors as well. We are enabler, we are consumer, and we can augment as well. And let me just explain how. Enabler, from our 4G connectivity and recently now 5G launched, we really will have all of these dense maps and geospatial information can be real-time available to everybody actually. And that can only be available based on connectivity. Consumer, how can we lay and put all of these connectivity in perspective and in functioning? You really need to have all the geospatial information, plus we use it in a lot of other R platforms and everywhere, etc. Augment, because we have a lot of IoT technologies which we work internally today. And, it's not just the geospatial. I think the temporal and the real-time geospatial information which can actually collate together and can provide an intelligence which is completely next level. I think just picking from what Abhishek mentioned under part of NLP, the intent is to improve the overall logistics performance index and improve the performance actually, right? And a lot of the contribution which government already doing by unifying and laying the infrastructure in place, but I think a lot of the things would also happen at the granular level, monitoring of what is actually happening when moving the things between these via road transportation or anywhere actually, not only just first mile, but also first mile, mid mile, last mile, you know. How do we think the 10-mile delivery happened today actually? I mean, it's really, you know, astonishing. I'm not saying that I'm a proponent of 10-minute delivery, but you really need to track it at like second level or a per second level. And you have to combine it with the geospatial information to actually see, you know, can I really make it? You know, is there a roadblock on the next around the corner actually? So all of those things combined. So hence, you know, all these three areas we actually are enabling and doing things actually from location intelligence as location analytics as well as business intelligence, both parts as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Puneet, very well. And I think you made a very important point, keeping the consumer in the central and the how best their advantage the technology can make to them and benefit. May I now request Mr. Azad Mishra, Senior Vice President, Rural and Agri-Business Group, HDFC Group.
Hello. Thank you, sir. First of all, I would like to thank organizer for making me part of this esteemed panel. And I would like to congratulate organizers to organize an event of this scale and this, you know, having experts across the field. We have scientists, but I must admit that I'm not the technical person. So I'm a part of the user department, or I would say implementation department. So I will tell something about our journey of experiencing remote sensing for our usage in crop insurance. A few years back, we were discussing a very complex problem. We were one of the early entrants to crop insurance space way back in 2010-11. And in 2016, Government of India launched Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. And there was a special thrust on the usage of technology, specifically for the yield estimation survey. So way back in 2017 and 18, we were discussing that, you know, under crop insurance, we have to do a lot of crop cutting experiments. Mostly, these are done on area approach. And even on area approach, obviously, we can't do survey in a span of 45 days for more than, 120 million landholding. That is not practically possible. So we have some samples on pan-India basis, probably 15 lakhs or 15 to 20 lakhs CCs being done. For our case, we used to do, we used to monitor crop cutting experiment to the tune of 1 lakh within a span of a month. And there used to be survey like more than 2 lakh survey used to be done under localized risk under crop insurance scheme. So the issue was, obviously the manpower was a big issue. The shorter time window that we have was a big issue. To have a joint monitoring with the district administration was a big issue. So we were just exploring whether we can use remote sensing to solve our problem. So the first reaction was somebody said that how can you explain farmer that something in the air will estimate their crop yield. So we went to have a discussion with few experts from Agriculture University, like Tamil Nadu Agriculture University. They have a separate remote sensing department. There are a few other organizations like NRSC, National Remote Sensing Center, Mahalanovich National Crop Forecasting Center. And what we understood that yes, there are different satellite data that can be used, and there are different parameters based on which we can at least do some kind of crop yield estimation. So way back in 2018, we were one of the first insurance company to start in-house remote sensing. And actually, we hired one guy, who was a remote sensing scientist, and he has worked in various government projects all across India. From then onwards, if we look into our journey for last 4 years, now we are getting the satellite data, mostly the Sentinel data that is being used, and we are also using the software of the ISRI. They are part of this organization for this workshop. And we are procuring satellite data. We are, on an average, at a district level, we are collecting crop signatures to the tune of 200 to 300. When we say crop signatures, it will be like images taken of a particular crop field from all four sides. These crop signatures are again used for crop identification that will be overlaid on the satellite data. And based on this crop signatures and the satellite data taken, from open sources, so we are basically doing a crop acreage estimation. So at least we are very much aware that if there is a change in the cropping pattern, we are very much aware, right? Probably in the midst of the vegetative stage. So that was something we were caught unaware earlier, but now things are much better. Secondly, from crop health monitoring, yes, if we are taking all these images on regular basis for a particular field, then we are much more aware about the crop condition much before the harvesting. And for surveys, sometimes it do happen that, suddenly there is a extreme calamity and many farmers are normally gets affected. And it's not practically to do practically it's not easy to do survey of say 50,000 lands in a span of say 10, 15 days. So now we have also started using drone-based survey for timely claim assessment, which has really helped us in our overall claim reserving. Also, the remote sensing data being used, the drought map, the soil moisture index data, that is being used for various underwriting decisions that we take. I remember in 2016 when we were discussing in one of the meeting, and one of the government officials said that, can you just refer to some used cases in crop insurance? So we spoke to some global reinsurers. We spoke what they are doing in US, Spain, in European market, but not many used cases were there. Probably there was one reference point, one of the rice project that was done in Manila, where they were said that, based on NDVI data, what we call normalized differential vegetative index data, at least we can estimate the rice yield if it is a homogeneous crop. So now we can proudly say that we have much more used cases. We have states like MP, they are going more on the smart sampling based on remote sensing, and they are also doing the yield estimation. There are various states, they are increasing the weightage of remote sensing data. Government of India has a lot of focus on usage of technology, specifically remote sensing and drone-based survey for yield estimation and loss estimation, and which will be very beneficial for us. But yes, few hiccups still we have probably. Normally, we are using Sentinel-2 data, which is basically optical data. Normally, if we have a cloud-free day, obviously, the data analysis will be good. We have not probably still cracked the analysis of SAR data. Probably that was one point of discussion. Second, I think one of the various speakers were discussing about satellite data to resolution beyond 1 meter. So as of now, mostly we're working at a 10-meter resolution, which is obviously free of cost from open source. So the costing impact will be one of the things that probably we may need to look into in future. But yes, technology is here to stay, that I can say, at least from crop insurance perspective.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Azad. You made it very clear that how remote sensing and GIS is now being used for the insurance, and the kind of effort which you made to collect different crop signatures and to put together, I think it's very well appreciated. And I think, though there are certain limitations as of now, but I'm sure that in coming years you would be able to. I must thank all of my panelists because there is some time left for the questions. And if there are any questions to any panelist, is most welcome. There is a mic and you can use it. You can identify yourself and then, yeah.
Good evening. My name is Ashutosh Kumar Jha. I am from Indian Institute of Remote Sensing. My question is on the cost. The way we have been explained the cost of the 4 cities, so it comes out to be around 10 to 15 crore per acre. So that's the cost which you're talking about, the investment which is required. So if a citizen who is going to live into that city, how much he has to spend and live in that particular smart city? That's my first question. Second question is related to the data set which is being used in open source. Most of the time what we have seen is companies are using open source data sets, but they are not providing it back to the society. Most of the data set only for visualizations, not for download. Let's say I want to do some kind of the road network or the ULIP under logistic network which data sets is available. I want to do some kind of network-based analysis or different kind of analysis which is required. That data is not available to me, even though those data has been at least 60 to 70% of those data set has been acquired from the open source. So what is the basically industry effort to provide those data openly back to the society?
So I do not know, thank you for your question. I do not know which numbers you are referring to and stating that around 10 crores to 12 crore rupees is the cost. It's not the cost. I'll just tell you the basis because you are looking from a perspective of a residential activity which you are thinking or a person who is going to live in a new city. That's primarily what I understand from your question. See, these cities, if the time permits, if I take it just a step back, the way India is urbanizing, at least 30 Indians are moving to the urban centers in search of livelihood every single minute. The choice with the country is either we continue our urbanization process the way we are urbanizing, or we start planning the new cities where the manufacturing or where any other economic activity is planned. What we have done in the past, either we can make our existing cities like Mumbai, Delhi, or Bangalore convert into slums, or we plan new cities. We have experimented in the past. We have few examples since independence. We have developed cities like Lavasa, we have developed cities like Naya Raipur, we have developed cities like Gandhinagar, we have developed cities like Chandigarh. But there is no economic activity. The only exceptional example which comes to my mind is Jamshedpur. That is the only city which has the economic activity. So the whole objective is, one, to solve the problem of urbanization. Secondly, if India has to continuously grow at double-digit growth rate, and if India has to grow with a GDP manufacturing contribution has to increase, the story of the service sector contribution to the GDP is over. And in order to promote manufacturing in the country, what you need is the world-class infrastructure which is missing. We keep on attracting the investment, which we keep on pitching to the international investors or the domestic investors only on the basis of the false promises. So here we are making a difference. We are saying we will give you road. We are not promising, we are delivering it. Now coming back to the cost. The cost aspect is, it's a participative model between the government of India and the state government. State government contributes land as their equity to the project. So the story of giving grants to the state government, getting a utilization certificate at the end of the year, releasing the tranches for the next year is completely over. The complete financial discipline has been attached to every single rupee that is getting spent at the ground level. We, as Government of India, contribute 3,000 crore rupees as equity to the project for developing the infrastructure, for developing plug-and-play infrastructure available at the plot level for any industry. As far as the allotment rates are concerned, to the industry, we sell the land at the cost of acquisition of land plus cost of development divided by the sellable land. So whatever base price we receive, that is at that rate we sell the land to the industrial. Over a period of 10-15 years, an industrial city will come in. Once that industrial city will come in, then the ecosystem, the workers will start living in, their families will start living in, and then the city will come into existence. Then the demand for residential, commercial, institutional, and other land users will come in, and then we will start selling the land parcels. To precisely state, there is no 10 crore rupees or 12 crore rupees the rate. In fact, in my presentation, there is no land allotment rate. I think you are confused with the numbers of investments versus the land allotment which has taken place.
So that's what that was the, since you are investing 10 to 15 crores rupees per acre, so that has to be again monetized. Government of India is no longer...
Boss, I have not written the land allotment rates. It's the investment made by the private sector into the cities.
Per acre, per acre.
It is not per acre.
Okay.
Nowhere it has been written per acre.
Actually, the thing is like you said about the Jamshedpur. The Jamshedpur notified area is completely under the governance of the that Tata Sons, and they are managing it. And for your kind informations, the different residential places which is being built inside the Jamshedpur is being managed by the Tata Sons, and they are providing their workers houses at 400, 500 rupees, a two-bedroom flats or two-bedroom houses. I don't think so the government of India is in a mood to provide housing at that rate to individuals.
The rate of allotment for the industry is ranging from 2,500 rupees to 3,200 rupees per square meter. There are hundreds of schemes of the government of India whereby the accommodation and the housing is being provided, and that is being looked at as part of the Ministry of Housing and the Urban Affairs. For different classes of workers, different classes of individual, right from blue collar to white collar, different schemes are already there where the housing arrangement is done. We are not only allotting the land to the private sector for industrial use, but also if a private sector wants land for the purpose of the workers' accommodation, that also can be made facilitated. And that allotment is also happening at the industrial rate. We are not charging a 2x premium on the residential allotment.
Okay, I think if you have more questions, you can ask later on. Okay, any other comments or a question? Okay, I don't see any question, and still we have some time. Only one question which I think many of people would like to know. When the launch of 5G, how do you see the changes in the educational scenario?
So, look, a lot of the things which we see, and I think in the COVID times we have seen the whole education landscape changed, right? And all of a sudden everybody had to switch to online mode, but it still continued, right? So we do see, at least with the 5G, whatever experience, look, people were still able to consume and have education in 4G era as well. But 5G, it will be much more immersive. Right now, it was much more a student talking to a teacher over a video call. That was primarily what it was happening. And people really said that the touch and feel of things were missing, actually. The students were really not able to experiment with the things in the real-time basis, sitting at their home and stuff. So we do see that in 5G scenario, that's going to change. I think a lot of group activities, social activities, which students had to miss out on, which they couldn't do, and were only happening in two-dimensional, actually, would actually happen in much more immersive nature and much more in augmented and virtual reality spaces. So that I think is going to be a booster, actually. And that's true not only for education, I think for healthcare as well. We see that's going to happen, right? So that's what that point is.
Thank you. Thank you. Azad, I have one more query. You mentioned about the calamities and all. Now, how do you handle, say, issues related to drought, which is a slow and you have sufficient time to analyze, and some episodic event like cyclone or something comes and suddenly everything is damaged? So whether you have a separate model or how do you handle this kind of things?
Sir, one of the important aspects that we also do monitor is the sowing report. So if drought is during the early stage of the crop, then probably, obviously, we will do a monitoring of sowing based on satellite data. If the vegetation has not come out and more than 75% of area is still unsown, then there is a provision under crop insurance scheme to pay for the prevented sowing cover. If the drought is in probably during the crop cycle stage, maybe say vegetative or flowering stage, then yes, we do keep monitoring, but the final result will come, at the time of harvesting only. So early drought, definitely, which would have an impact on the sowing, can be measured based on the vegetation index. But mid-term drought can be sometimes recovered. Sometimes what is happening, so for example, in Maharashtra, 2014 and 2015 was worst drought year. And everybody was talking about drought. But if you see, and Marathwada is one of the epicenter of drought region. So, but for last 6 years, except for 2018 in some pockets, most of the times in the month of September, October, they are getting a good rainfall. Even though there has been a dry spell period during the month of August, which has been recovered. So probably the impact of drought will be more visible at the time of harvesting at that point of time. So yes, for sowing we have a early signal option, and for midterm drought there is a provision of medicine calamity also.
So basically, you try to monitor continuously
Absolutely.
with that.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I think we had a very good session, and also we saw extremely good example that how the technology has been used, especially PM Gati Shakti, and it's a very huge, all kinds of logistics for the entire country, and how this being monitored in day to day, and 23 ministries, if I'm not mistaken, right? So this is something which is amazing. And also at the same time, we saw how the technology is used for the insurance sector. And though there are some limitations, as mentioned by him, but it is still usable and able to make sense out of the data, and that is useful for the insurance cover. And of course, the future, which has been said that once the 5G is launched, how we all are going to be benefited. Of course, with shortage of time, I can't ask him for each sector, but I think the signal is very clear that our life is going to change once the 5G comes operational in this. I thank all of you, Azad, Puneet, and Abhishek, for their excellent presentation, and most important, keeping to the time. And extremely thank you, all of you, for your active participation, and organizers for organizing this excellent session. Thank you very much all. Thank you.